Steel Curtain Network.
¡Pique the Pickens! ¡Pique the Pickens! ¡Pique the Pickens!
Hey, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what's going on? This is Jeff Hartman, one of the three co-hosts of the Steelers Preview Podcast, and we are getting ready to preview the Pittsburgh Steelers playing the Houston Texans in Week 4. Joining me as always, Dave Schofield. What's up, Dave?
Oh, okay. Hold on. I think I got another one. Not too much, Jeff. I just have to tell you something. I hit something legendary this week. I will forever be a person who received a butt dial from Bryan Anthony Davis from Las Vegas. That I was the one that was that special to be in that moment, to get to hear some of the shenanigans going on with one bad who already has some shenanigans going on the screen, if y'all haven't noticed. And that was 6.5 minutes of my life I will remember forever.
You stayed on the line that whole time?
I was busy doing work, so I figured it was worth it.
That's 6 minutes longer than I would have stayed on the line. Bryan is going to try and join. He is still in Las Vegas out there for work, and he's going to try to join us. Hopefully he's able to get that. We were talking right before we went on the air, and then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened, but hopefully he gets back into the fray. In the meantime, welcome to another Steelers Preview Podcast. We are a part of the Steel Curtain Network, which is a part of Fans First Sports Network. Make sure you check out fansfirstsports.com and all of our great content there, as well as even our NFL feed. For those of you that are NFL fans that like to hear more than just about the Pittsburgh Steelers, you can go to anywhere you get your podcast, search FFSN NFL, and you'll get a lot of great content there. Let's talk about this upcoming game, but first let's get into some news. TJ Watt, Defensive Player of the Month. It's funny, he was never a Defensive Player of the Week. Alex Highsmith was a Defensive Player of the Week, but he was not. Am I correct, Dave?
You are correct.
But he gets Defensive Player of the Month.
The thing is with Defensive Player of the Week, that just goes to show that you had that one great, phenomenal game that really stands out. Defensive Player of the Month. Did I say that right? I said week the first time, which I meant to. Defensive Player of the Month is showing that you did it week in, week out. Now, because there was no games the first weekend in September, it was for 3 games. So that's a little bit more prestigious.
I agree. Yeah, Player of the Month is better than Player of the Week. I just think it's funny that he was never even had a game that they signified would be good enough for the week, yet he had games, plural, to make it good enough for the month.
Well, I can't remember who would have been the AFC Defensive Player of the Week in Week 1, because, TJ Watt with 3 sacks, you would consider it, but you don't generally win Defensive Player of the Week in a game where you get beat 30-7.
Well, but even Week 3, he probably could have been named Defensive Player of the Week, but they gave it to, I think, a Bills defensive back or something like that. But
well, I honestly, I didn't even see the Players of the Week. I just saw the one for the month. So
there you go. Now, there's another, Bryan joins us. Hold on, Bryan. We'll get to you in a sec. There's another award that I had never even heard of that Cole Holcomb won. Do you remember the name of it? I think you put it in the Slack channel. I'm trying to think of what it was actually called.
What the name of it was? Oh, I don't.
Here we go. I've got it here. It is the recipient of the NFL's Way to Play award, Cole Holcomb. The Way to Play.
That's what it was.
Way to Play, and that was all based on the hit that he did properly on Devontae Adams, even though it was flagged. That should be noted, and then they've picked up the flag, but it was initially flagged by the officials. There you go. There's your news outside of the injury report. Let's bring Bryan in. Bryan, what's going on?
Guys, I may be on borrowed time as I am still in Las Vegas. If I would open the window behind me, I am looking at Allegiant Stadium, where I did not get into the other night, but I am actually, I don't know if you can see it, but right there it is.
All I see is bright light, but yeah.
As I glare you. So I am going to try to see how long I can make this thing last. And I'm glad to be here with you, fellas. And I can't wait to be back home on Saturday and spend some more time with you getting ready for the Houston Texans.
Do you want to name names yet with the whole fiasco that happened Sunday night, or are you still trying to be like Mr. Polite and this one company that sells tickets didn't double sold my ticket. Like, I'll
No.
name names because if you're trying to sue them, I get it. I'll name the name.
I'm not trying to sue. I'm not trying to sue them. They settled with me so far, but StubHub that sent me a message today saying, "How would you rate your experience 0 to 10?" I said,
could you type in -4?
I couldn't. There was no comment section. But I mean, they ended up giving me after. My gosh, I actually recorded my phone call. And Jeff, you would, because it might sound like I'm exaggerating when I said the way I talked to them. I want everybody to hear how I talked to them and berated these people, and it was actually in a calm manner the whole way. They're like, "Well, sir, is there anything else we can do for you?" I'm like, "You've done nothing for me." So, well, we hope you have a good day. I'm like, "No, you don't hope I have a good day. I want a supervisor. You can't go past me." "Well, do you own StubHub? Do you sign the checks? If there's an emergency," I'm like, "Look, I can't go to the game now. So I tell you what time do you get off?" "We don't get off until 11. "Well, I've got time now, so I'm going to talk to you the whole way." And I did that until they hung up on me.
Oh my God.
StubHub, even though they gave me $603 voucher and a refund, they double sold my ticket. It is some dirty pull. I will say that. If they come after me, that's fine, because trust me, I've got a big mouth. Everybody here knows it. And StubHub, there's some kind of corruption where they double sold my ticket. They took my money and took it back.
What are you going to use that voucher for? You have any plans?
I was thinking Cleveland or Cincinnati on the road.
You mean going to Cleveland?
Yeah.
Yuck.
Wow.
I want a road game experience. That's a part of the thing. I enjoy the road game so much. So I thought I would do something like that. I can't go to LA, and Seattle is, my gosh, that's New Year's Eve in Seattle. That's family time for me. So that's probably the best idea.
Okay. There you go. Use the voucher wisely. There. Yeah. Oh
Either
my
that,
gosh.
Jeff, either that or I go see Carrot Top 10 more times. I saw him the other night. I could go do that 10 more times, and it would be glorious because it was awesome. I came out to see the Raiders. I got Carrot Top instead.
Some might say that that's equal. I would not be one of those people that would say that. Oh my gosh. Okay.
I just say this. I only sell my tickets through the NFL's official partner because you can't get it sold out from underneath you. They invalidate anything else that you had. It is so legit. See, and the problem is by not being the official one, someone could have sold that ticket to you and had it listed on multiple places. And if they sold it on the official one before they could take it off, they don't really have a ticket anymore. It was gone. So that's why I stick to that.
Right?
That is Ticketmaster.
Okay. I didn't know if Ticketmaster was the official.
They are the
NFL.
official.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, Bryan, it sucks. Hope you still enjoy your trip out there. We're going to hopefully have you for the whole show here. Let's get this show started. And the big news is the injury reports, because obviously the injury reports and who's banged up. The Steelers had a whopping 10 players on Wednesday. Now, some of them were not injury related, but still, we have a little bit more details now after Thursday's report. Dave, you have that in front of you?
Oh, I do. But once again, the cut and paste component is the cut and paste components, because the report comes out from Steelers PR. It has everyone listed. It doesn't have the not injury related players listed, which I thought should have been there. But that's all right. It took it forever to get on Steelers.com. They even put out an alert with a link to the article, and the article was yesterday's article. So then they finally put it out there, and they have a discrepancy, because according to the PR report, Allen Robinson was limited. According to Steelers.com, Allen Robinson didn't practice. Now, they also talked and did a little blurb about every player that didn't practice, and they did not mention Allen Robinson. So I have a feeling that their cut and paste component was from yesterday, where he didn't practice and they didn't get it changed. So that's that one. Sorry that I went off my little bit of rant.
No, because that's worthwhile, because someone that runs a website, you have to pride yourself on what you're doing. This organization has sucked for a couple of months, and even going back to last year's cut and paste component. Anyone else remember when Anthony Miller was cut by the team and then they ran the feature on Anthony Miller afterwards?
Like 5 days later.
Yeah, you could tell that was scheduled. They were on vacation. Someone's like, no one canceled that article. Anthony Miller is looking for a new job, and they're running the, hey, get to know Anthony Miller. Like, oh my gosh, come on, get it together, Steelers.com. Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So Allen Robinson was either limited or didn't practice. I believe he was limited. If I had to, using my deductive reasoning skills to figure out which one was right, I'm going with that one. And plus, that means I didn't have to change the headline to my article of 3 players didn't practice because I didn't count him. The 3 players that did not practice is, once again, 2 days in a row, Presley Harvin. That's a shame with as well as he punted last week. But the Steelers already, just in case, they got Brad Wing back on the practice squad. So you got Presley Harvin in practice. You had James Daniel with a groin, did not practice. And a new player onto the injury report on Thursday, Darnell Washington, did not practice. So other than that, Miles Killebrew, wait, is that another one that they messed up, or was that right? Miles Killebrew, limited. I don't remember him being limited. Maybe he was. Larry, I don't think he was. I think that's another discrepancy. I'm going to have to look that one up. He was either limited or full. Larry Ogunjobi was limited. But then a bunch of players came back to be full. Chooks with the elbow. Connor Hayward with the ankle. I'm pretty sure Miles Killebrew was listed as full because he was limited the day before. I'm pretty sure that's another cut and paste screw up. But I'll see if I can confirm that. Isn't that ridiculous that that's the case here? I'm trying to see here. Miles Killebrew was full according to the Steelers PR, but not according to Steelers.com. Then you had the rest guys. I'm not even worried about them. I think that's everybody.
That's a lot. Bryan, anything stick out with this players that are banged up and injured?
It's week 4. This is when it starts happening. But not really, because when I look at the Texans report, I feel like the Steelers could be deeper in these positions. You don't want to see anybody hurt, but I feel like the Steelers will be okay compared to that of a certain position group on the Texans.
Yeah, we'll get to the Texans here in a second. Presley Harvin, I'm anxious about Friday. Like, if there is to me a chance that they give him 2 days off, and then he goes out and is a full participant and has no designation. Am I expecting that? No, I'm not expecting that. Darnell Washington with the knee, that typically means it happened in practice because he didn't have a designation.
Well, I would think it would happen in practice if he was limited, but he didn't practice at all. So,
okay.
That might have that's concerning unless he did it working out or he was sore from yesterday and they said don't practice.
Yeah. We'll see. Friday is going to be an important day. I want to ask you all a question. I brought this up to Jerome Betts on my Let's Ride podcast tomorrow, Friday morning. And that is, so let's say that James Daniels cannot go. So the groin injury is going to have him out of the lineup. So Nate Herbig is the next man up as the guard.
Mm-hmm.
If it was your choice, would you move Isaac Seumalo to the right side and have Nate Herbig play left, or would you just plug in Herbig on the right side? Dave, we'll start with you.
Herbig's job is to be ready for anything. He should just be plugged in on the right.
Fair enough. What about you, Bryan? What do you think?
Yep, I say exactly the same thing that Dave did. Moving around with just a couple days' notice and so on and so forth. Those guys really, this is a game of angles on the offensive line. And, even though you're a guard, the designation of left and right is so much different because it's how you approach your week. It's not as easy as you would think to just settle into the opposite side of a line.
That's true. Good point.
Can I say something real quick? This is something that I thought was really weird. I didn't experience it until I got to where I was coaching high school football, and I haven't seen it otherwise. When I was coaching high school, the varsity team, I didn't do this with the lower levels because I thought it would mess them up. They didn't have a right tackle and a left tackle and a right guard and a left guard. They had a strong tackle and a weak tackle. And they always kept the same tackle with the tight end. Sometimes you were lined up right, sometimes you were lined up left, but they felt it was more important to know if you were next to the tight end or not, to know how you would block different things. That kind of blew my mind. And so you talk about being able to flip, and I'm like, man, in some cases, there were some schemes like that you just assume that you can play tackle either side of the line, that it might be more difficult to know, if you have another guy next to you or not. It's kind of weird.
That is odd. That's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
Dave, do you have the Texans report in front of
you? Yeah, I got it right here too.
Go ahead.
The players that returned as full today, should we even worry about them?
No.
Okay. So sticking to the ones that, well, first of all, the 4 that didn't practice. You have tackle Josh Jones with a hand. You have linebacker Denzel Perryman with a hand/wrist. You have cornerback Thomas Tavir, maybe, I don't know. That's out with a hand. What's up with all these hand injuries? And then tackle Laramie Tunsil with the knee is still not ready to go. Apparently, both their tackles are not necessarily going to play. One thing that could have been a somewhat good sign for them. Wait, he's new to the list. Sorry, I thought it was maybe he was returning, but another lineman showed up on the list. Center/guard Michael Dieter. I don't know if that's a starter or not. Usually when it's center and guard, it's a backup. With a chest injury, was limited. So that's a lot of linemen.
I think that's what Bryan was going to talk about. Bryan, go ahead and talk about the Houston Texans injury report.
Well, you know what? When you have to deal with – just take away TJ Watt and take away Alex Highsmith. If you've got to deal with – Marcus Golden coming at you and deal with Nick Herbig as well, just their second team could be a nightmare for you, because we've seen Marcus Golden, my gosh, no one was really talking about him as the newcomer, but he's 2 sacks so far and looking pretty good, and everybody's excited about Nick Herbig, but all right, they're enough of a problem. Now throw in the starters, the guy that had 6 sacks, and also a guy who had an amazing week, who's becoming a superstar. My gosh, we need a nickname for this Highsmith-Watt group, and we need it quick, because they're going to be devastating. If you don't have Laramie Tunsil and you don't have Jones, my gosh, those backups are going to have a lot of problems. And one guy that's not on the injury report, but if I'm the Texans, I might wish that he was, is Kendrick Green. So that's going to be a nightmare for this team and for a young quarterback. The only chance that they really have is this guy's an athlete, and broken plays might help him out. But the Steelers will be ready for it. This could be very dangerous for Houston because of this injury report.
Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, I wasn't it reported by Aaron Wilson earlier in the week that both the tackles are not playing?
They're not expected to play.
Yeah. So then that's why they moved, I think on the right side, they moved their right guard out to right tackle. And that's why Kendrick Green got inserted into the lineup at guard. So, but they had to do this last week, and they actually looked pretty good against Jacksonville, who has all those number 1 picks on the front of their defense. So as much as you're like, wow, yeah, they've got to go up against the Steelers, they patchworked it together pretty good and came up with a huge win last week. So it's not beyond the realm of possibility that they can make it work.
It's going to be interesting. And the thought of Kendrick Green, I said this on my podcast. Gosh, I wish Cam Hayward was playing.
Oh, yeah.
Kendrick Green was playing. I mean, this guy has made all pros, and he's moved them like they're rag dolls in his career. And yet then you're talking about Kendrick Green. That's a little bit different scenario. Look, I have nothing against Kendrick Green, the person. I want to make that very clear. Like, it just didn't pan out. It didn't work out. You wish him nothing but the best. But at the same time, I don't think any Steeler fan that's realistic and honest with themselves isn't a little excited thinking about the Steelers getting to go that defensive front going up against Kendrick Green. Maybe like a Keanu Benton or DeMarvin Leal, even Isaiah Loudermilk, like just getting their chance to go up against a familiar face, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, won't he know about the Steelers defense? Maybe, but they'll know."
They
about
also
him
know
too.
what he can't do either.
Exactly. All right, let's do some quick keys to victory here before we take our first break. Bryan, let's talk about the offense first. The Steelers' offense has taken some steps in the right direction. What do you think they need to do on Sunday to secure victory and to put up a lot of points?
Well, one of the things that you saw last week, they allowed Kenny Pickett to audible because he really was barely allowed to audible. And that's a fact the first 2 weeks. When they took the chains off of him, and that was Matt Canada taking the chains off of him, he played so much better, and he was able to do some things when he got into trouble. And that showed a lot of progression from that quarterback. So that's something that should make you feel better. But when he went down the field 72 yards to Calvin Austin III, that's something we've been waiting for a long time. That stretches the defense, and that made the defensive game plan so much harder
And
for the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders.
Okay, I think he's out. So,
yeah,
Bryan, we heard the gist of it for sure. Dave, what about you offensively? What do the Steelers need to do?
First of all, Kenny Pickett needs to stand tall in the pocket to deliver the ball. Once he did that with that 72-yard pass to Calvin Austin, he did a better job sticking in the pocket and not. There's nothing wrong with moving the pocket. Everything, he was exiting too soon. That'll help. Also, he shouldn't have to audible when you see the defense line it up against what you're going to do on offense. You should even know that's what they're going to do. Don't call a freaking run play. He shouldn't have to call off the run play. You should know better than to call. Coach Tallman called that out this week at the press conference. If we see them putting in a really big defensive front, why are we calling a run play to just run it into them? Don't do that. So, but the biggest thing that I really like to do is disguise what you do. Throw from under center, run from shotgun, and just continue to do, but not just exclusively. Continue to mix it up so that way teams really don't know what you could or couldn't be doing. Coach KT Smith talked about it with Bryan this week on the Here We Go, the Steelers show, about the percentage of how much the Steelers ran under center and how you got to change that. And because if everybody knows that's what you're doing, all the smart people, if the fans know those numbers, of course the other team knows those numbers. So you got to make sure you do those kind of things. Other than that, it's just continue to execute and stay on the field. Stay on the field. They did a better job of that last game, but they could continue to improve there.
To me, I listened to Kenny Pickett. This is on the NBC broadcast after the game. He was getting a game ball, I think, with Levi Wallace and TJ Watt. And they said, Kenny, what do you think about this offense? And he said, sure, it's nice to have a running game. And he talked about balance. And I was like, he's still a really young quarterback in this league. Now, he might not be young from an age perspective compared to someone like CJ Stroud, who's 21 years old, but he absolutely is still learning the ropes. And the best thing that they could give him is a good running game. A running game that is just churning up yards. You don't need Kenny Pickett to throw it for some crazy amount. Even last week, going over, what do you have over? He had over like 230 yards, I think, through the air. I would love to see a game where the Steelers just run all over Houston. Like, that would be phenomenal. Just where they control the line of scrimmage, moving people off the ball. And I'll say this, Nate Herbig being in the lineup, if he is, I'm not saying he will be, but if he is, there's one thing that guy loves to do is to push people around in the run game. So he's probably a better run blocker than James Daniels. So, hey, let's run it. Let's get Najee Harris going, run it. Like you said, Dave, don't be obvious about it. But I'd love to see them commit to the running game and actually give Kenny Pickett some balance, and that would be ideal. Let's go to the defense, Bryan. What do you think about the Steelers defense? What are some what are you looking for?
Well, they have really got to get some pressure on that quarterback. There's some talented wide receivers on this team as well, but if they could bend and not break like they did against Devontae Adams, they're going to be in a lot better shape. Damian Pierce as a running back is very good, but the inside linebackers, if they pay attention to them, if they install the same game plan that they had against Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams, even though Devontae Adams bent them, they did not break. So I would think that would be the same kind of defense that I would want to run against this team. Like I just alluded to before, though, you want to make sure that CJ Stroud does not, if you rush and you pressure him, which you very well can, you've got to make sure that you have some people, watching the corners to make sure that he doesn't make something big out of nothing.
Good stuff. Dave, what do you think about defense?
What do I think about the defense? The defense, they need to set the tone. They need to make sure that this Houston team that put up 37 points last week against Jacksonville might be thinking, hey, we can do what we can do. That this isn't about the Steelers stopping you. This is you being able to actually do something against the Steelers. It's kind of a mentality. They need to control the game from the defensive side of the ball, get after the quarterback. They've given up 11 sacks, no interceptions though. They haven't been turning the ball over. Houston, they only have 2 turnovers, no interceptions. So maybe the Steelers can change that a little bit. But bottom line is, you're the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Set the tone.
I don't think CJ Stroud has thrown an interception yet this year.
No, that's why I was saying.
Yeah, so I'm curious if the pass rush, which we assume is going to get to him, and if it doesn't get to him, he is an elusive quarterback. He can get outside the box. He can move. He is mobile. Can they force him into a mistake? It's been a while since we have had a Steelers defense that forces quarterbacks into mistakes and doesn't just kind of luck out of it. Tip pass, stuff like that. I want to see them take the football away. Let's keep that trend going. They had 7 in the last 2 weeks, I believe. Let's keep that trend going. I'd love to see multiple takeaways. And if they can do that, I think this game is on ice. I think it would be a really nice win for the Steelers, but we'll get to the predictions here in a second. Let's actually take our break now. When we come back from the break, if you're watching live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, we're not going anywhere. On the audio side, when we get back after the break, we're going to talk over-under, and we're going to give our predictions for the game. We'll be right back. All right, Steeler fans, we are back. It's time for the over-under game. Dave, you have the update?
Oh, yeah. You and Bryan were quite impressive last week. You guys got 4 out of 5.
Nice.
But not good enough because somebody was 5 for 5.
I wonder who that is.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, probably the other person. But also, Jeff and myself also got the over/under correct of the overall score, which I haven't been counting like who won the game and the over/under of the game itself. But we all picked Pittsburgh, which we are correct. So it was the under, right? Because it was 23-18. So that over/under was pretty close there. Vegas kind of knows what they're doing, meaning the odds makers. But yeah, the only difference was the 3 that we all agreed on, we all were correct with. So Jeff, you had Calvin Austin going over 4.5 receptions. That didn't happen. And Bryan, you did not have the Steelers getting 3 takeaways. You had them at 1. So pretty good, much better than the first week. Well, especially last week was not a good one either. But overall, Bryan, you are 6 out of 16. Jeff, you are 8 out of 16, and I am 11 out of 16.
Wow. Okay.
Wow, I'm getting crushed.
Don't call it a comeback, Bryan. You got this. We have 5 this week. We have some team, some individual. Sticking with Kenny Pickett, he's going to be first on the list most of the time. So here we go. Over under. Kenny Pickett touchdowns, 1.5. Brian, you taking
Passing or
yes,
overall
passing?
touchdowns?
Passing. Over under, Brian. What do you think?
I'm going with a trend. Let's go over. We finally got the 2. Let's do it.
Okay. Dave, what
So,
about you?
Kenny Pickett's passing touchdowns 1.5. Yeah, I'm going over as well.
I'm going over. I'm going with 2, but hey, I'd still over. So I'm going to take the over with 2. Next one, Jaylen Warren rushing yards. Rushing, not total, not receiving, rushing yards. I've got the line at 45.5. Might have been a little overzealous with this one. Brian, what do you think?
Under.
Okay.
One of your worst lines ever, and you were perfect. You were amazing.
Oh, he called
Okay.
it out.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I'm going under 2.
He's going
Come
to
on,
break
Jeff.
He's going to break off a big one. He's going over.
Yeah, I was going to say, come on,
Nice.
Jeff. Believe in your line, Jeff. Believe in it.
I don't know why, and I don't have any inside information here. I just feel like he's going to get more carries this week. So we'll see. We'll see. Let's go to Pat Fryermuth targets. Pat Fryermuth targets, not receptions, targets. 4.5. Brian, what do you think?
I believe that this is one of those areas where Kenny Pickett has been banging the table, saying, "I need to use Pat Fryermuth so much more." I like 4.5. I like the over.
Okay, Dave.
That's a really good line. That's a good one, Jeff. So Brian says over. When you said it before you said the line, but targets, not receptions. I'll go over as well because I was thinking 4 catches, but the question is, will he be targeted more than what he actually gets?
Yeah, I'm going over as well. I think he's at least targeted 5 times, and hopefully he has more than 4.5 catches even too, but that's not the game here. Let's go to the next one. Pittsburgh Steelers sacks of Houston Texan quarterbacks.
Hold on. I missed yours, Jeff. I'm sorry.
I said over.
Yeah, I thought so.
Okay, sacks of the quarterback for the Houston Texans. I've got this line at 4.5. 4.5, Brian. What do you think?
You know what? I think they're going to go after, but there was a trend last year. Every time there were some guys that were out, especially on the offensive line for the opponents, it seemed like we were on the show salivating and saying TJ Watt's going to get 70,000. We just thought they would go crazy. So I really think that I think 4 is definitely a possibility. 4.5 makes me say no to 5. I really think CJ Stroud is going to get out of problems with his legs, and that's going to be some missed opportunity with sacks. There's also been some sacks. The Steelers should have more sacks this year, but their tackling has not been grade A. It might be a B minus, it might be a B, but it hasn't been grade A. So I'm going to say that he will find his way out of trouble, that being CJ Stroud. We're going to go with the under, gentlemen.
Dave, what about you?
I shouldn't do this philosophy because I did it a lot last year and it didn't work for me. But I just don't want to agree with Bryan on everything, so I'll go over.
Okay. I'm thinking 4 in my head for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So I could definitely see this being 5, but I'm going to go with 4 and say the under. And then last one, Pittsburgh Steelers takeaways, the defensive takeaways. I've got the line at 1.5. Brian, what do you think?
I'm comfortable with 2 here. So over.
Okay. Dave, what about you?
See, this is tough because they've only given the ball up twice in 3 games. But can the Steelers make that? You know what? I think they're going to get 1, but I don't know if they'll get 2. So I'm going to go under.
I'm going to go over. I'm going to go over with 2. I think they're going to get to CJ. I think they might actually cause a fumble. What's up, Ryan?
I want to say something about that. I just want to address Dave there. Mm-hmm. I get it, but what was the big line last week? The big story was the fact that the Raiders
hadn't been sacked.
Have not been sacked. So I think the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is one of those defenses that forces mistakes. It's not the ineptitude of that team. It's the fact that it's being forced.
Honestly, I'd be fine if they just force a bunch of 3 and outs and not even take it away.
Yeah.
Just don't let them get going.
right?
Yep.
All right. So those are the 5. We'll see how we play it out this week. And let's talk about game predictions. According to my bookie, the Steelers are giving 3 points on the road. In the over-under is set at 42. I have seen some books at 2.5. I've seen the over-under go up to 43, but we're sticking with 42 and the Steelers giving 3 points. Bryan, how do you see this game shaking out, and what's your prediction?
I think the Steelers are going to win. There's a lot of reasons that there's a lot of justification that you could give for the fact that this could be an Akbarian game. And Jeff, you have no clue how to understand that. Dave will say, just
it's a trap.
Words. It's a trap. But no, I don't really think it is. I think the Steelers are going to have scoring opportunities. Their defense might even help them out with that. Let's say that they score 27. But you know what? Hell, I'm just going to go with the 30. I'm going to say they finally break 30. Is that going to happen? Probably not, but I got to believe 30-20 in favor of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Wow. Okay, giving up 20 points. Yeesh. Okay, Dave, what about you?
And that's the over. All right, for me, well, first of all, I think this had the potential to be that quote-unquote trap game until Houston came out and kicked the Jaguars in the teeth. So therefore, you have to pay attention to that. And I think that actually helps the Steelers in this case, because it's like, oh, they're not going to some 0-3 team that's just hasn't been able to do anything. They beat Jacksonville, who a lot of people have been talking about. Is Jacksonville, are they going to pull off are they going to be the 1 seed? And then Houston beat them handily. So that's why I don't believe that it's as much of a trap game. And also, if you talk to Houston, if you think of Houston, if they went 1-1 in this stretch, they would much rather get the division win. I have the Steelers winning. I have them winning similar to Bryan, but not quite as much. My score is 27-16.
Oh,
Time to do it again, Jeff?
I think we're 1 point off again for the second week. I think this is a game that you start to see the offense not just take little baby steps, but they start to take some strides. I have them scoring 27 points. None of them are defensive scores. I think the Steelers score 3 touchdowns to get a couple Chris Boswell field goals. I have the final score being Steelers 27 to the Houston Texans 17. Don't be shocked by a late game touchdown by the Texans. I think this is going to be one where the Steelers are going to have fans feeling like, okay, maybe the first 2 weeks were just them. They got to figure it out. Like it's going to be a process. I think they make some strides in this game. I think the defense is rather suffocating to the young quarterback with the offensive line situation the way they are. Have I been wrong before? Yes. Do I hope that I'm wrong? No. I hope I'm actually spot on, but I've got 27-17. The Steelers win 3 in a row before they go back to Acrisure Stadium in week 5 to play the Baltimore Ravens, which, by the way, let's do a quick bonus round here. Let's do the AFC North match between the Ravens and the Browns in Cleveland. Bryan, what do you think about that game?
Well, my gosh, I never even thought of that game. This is interesting. I think the Browns are actually, with that defense, playing a whole heck of a lot better. I actually think that defense is going to be a staple for them. I'm going to go ahead and say that the Browns win this game.
Okay. Dave, what about you? What do you think about this one?
Well, this is one of a couple good AFC matchups that are going on the same time as the Steelers.
I'm so pissed that I can't watch Bills and
Dolphins. I know. Yeah. Bills, Dolphins, Ravens, Brown. I mean, where were these matchups when the Steelers were in prime time? Come on. But Bryan is right. I mean, think about it. You can't just say, well, take away the Calvin Austin touchdown. The offense did it. Oh, take away the big run the Steelers gave up, and they hardly gave up anything. You can't take away the one. But if you did, take away that Steelers game, and the Browns have given up 6 total points. Yeah. Okay, they are the number 1 defense in the NFL. That's only through 3 weeks, but they're the number 1 defense in the NFL right now in both yards, points, and most things. Not sacks, because that's the Steelers. But Baltimore having to go to Cleveland, it's one of those things. You could see Baltimore playing better in a divisional game. They are getting some people back, but I would love nothing more than to actually see Baltimore win this game, because they shouldn't. Because I think Cleveland is the better team. I don't want to see Deshaun Watson get on a roll, but I think Cleveland's going to win this one.
I agree too. I think that at home, Baltimore is still a really banged up team. I think that Cleveland is a better defense than Baltimore's. I think it's going to be I'll say this. The only way I think that the Cleveland Browns lose this game is if Deshaun Watson throws it away, which is very possible.
Yes.
It is very possible.
But what do we want to see out of this more than anything? We want to see these two teams just beat the crap out of each other.
Beat the hell out of each other. So the Baltimore's all banged up before week 5. That's fine.
That's right.
All right, Brian, do you have trivia?
I absolutely do. And I'm going to follow the trend that I have been following for a while now.
I almost looked up stuff with that today just to do it. I'm like, I'm not going to ruin it.
Well, you know how I like to do quarterbacks, but from what I'm understanding, there have not been the Texans and the Steelers have not shared a quarterback whatsoever.
Brian Hoyer hasn't played for Houston?
Who's that?
Has Brian Hoyer played for Houston?
Saying we missed him last week as being he was the Raiders' backup.
You know what? That's a possibility. The weird thing about it is they don't put it on there because Hoyer never really
started a game for the Steelers.
Snap for the Steelers, so that's why that was missing. So my apologies for that. And I knew that.
Brian Hoyer went 5-4 in starting 9 games for the Houston Texans in 2015.
I thought he played for them.
Who hasn't he played for? So yeah, so we will go ahead and do that. Thank you for looking that up. That is the problem. I'm going to have to do that a Brian Hoyer watch now every time I do this. But I'm not talking about quarterbacks this week. I'm actually going to talk about 2 different position groups. And remember that the Houston Texans have only been around since 2002. But I want to talk wide receivers, and I believe this only goes back to 2015. If I'm not thinking, if I'm not thinking wrong here, so there's 4, and are they big names? No, but they're names that we know, and this is something that even Jeff could get.
Anthony Miller.
Yes, 1.
I'm going to ask a question. Are you counting Steven Sims? Although he didn't make the team this year, but he did sign with Houston.
I was not, but
okay, just making sure. Well, I didn't think you should, but I thought I'd ask.
Now I think that goes to the Hoyer thing. So you
got to play in a game.
So we'll make that. Actually, there's 5. Excuse me. So, and that if you count Sims, no,
I wouldn't. I would not count Sims.
So it's only 4.
Yeah. Okay, so we got Anthony Miller.
No, it is 5. Excuse me, it is 5.
Okay, so we've got Anthony Miller. We've got who was the Justin? Did he play for the Houston Texans?
Justin Brown?
No. I can't remember.
Justin Hunter?
Yes, that's who was it.
I'm not.
I don't think he played for the Texans, but it's going to be someone like. Did Kobe Hamilton play for the Texans?
He absolutely did, David.
I thought maybe he did. I know it's guys that are kind of that kind of caliber.
Kobe Hamilton.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Didn't I? Isn't he the one who caught the overtime touchdown from Landry Jones in Week 17, back when there's when the Steelers rested everybody and they beat the Browns in overtime to lock in their winless season?
You did,
because I was at that game.
And another game that you were at, when this next player went nuts and he was wearing a Bumblebee jersey, and I'm pretty sure you went to this game.
If it was Bumblebee, I was at a lot of Bumblebee games. I know. After they traded him, are you talking about Mangled Hands?
Yes, I'm talking about Mangled.
Did he go to Houston after he was in Cleveland?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, now why can't I? Come on, Jeff. What's his name? Caught the 2 touchdowns against the Jets. Coates. That's it. Sammy Coates. That's 3. So Kobe Hamilton, Sammy Coates, Jeff, you would say Anthony Miller.
How about a Super Bowl champion for the Steelers?
Super Bowl
A
champion.
2-time Super Bowl champion.
Nate Washington didn't end up there, did he?
Nate Washington is a 2-time Super Bowl champion that ended up there.
Wow.
Okay, so that's 4. There's one more.
There is one more.
I'm going to ask a question. Who were they with first, Pittsburgh or Houston? See, because Anthony Miller was with Houston first and then Pittsburgh, with all the other guys were the other way around.
I'm gonna say Pittsburgh, I believe.
Pittsburgh first, then
But I'm not sure, but he's a Super Bowl champion with another team and scored a touchdown with that other team in the Super Bowl. He's not just a wide receiver, but he's a kick returner extraordinaire. And he had a history with Mike Tomlin before he played with Mike Tomlin. They almost went on a trip together.
I know this.
Jeff, they almost went on a trip together.
A trip together. I'm not getting that hint.
Mike Tomlin almost.
Oh, that's right. That he tricked them
Ja-
for the Ravens. Was it
Jacoby Jones.
Yeah.
Jacoby Jones.
Good.
I didn't
I'm
know
not
he
going-
ended up there.
I'm not going to go ahead and I'm not going to make you guys answer this, but I was also going to do kickers, and that would be Chris Brown,
Chris Brown.
and Randy Bullock.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Randy Bullock's like the Brian Hoyer of kickers now.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's been around the league.
Yep.
Good stuff. That's always good to think about that stuff.
Yeah.
What's your trivia, Dave?
All right, my trivia. It comes to this. According to Mike Tomlin, what do the Steelers do in December?
Unleash hell.
That is correct. Except actually they don't.
Right.
They actually don't. I was looking at some Steelers stats when it comes to months and say, do they really play that? Do they really play that well in December? Now, I'll be honest with you. They have a 62.9 win percentage in December under Mike Tomlin. That's tied for third in the NFL since 2007. But that is actually one of their worst months of which they play football. What do you think the Steelers' best month is when it comes to their record under Mike Tomlin?
October.
I think it's October. Yeah.
Got to be October.
The answer is October if you're looking at overall games. Absolutely. The Steelers have a 68.9% winning percentage in October, but believe it or not, even though it's a higher percentage, it's not as high as a rank over that time. It's actually fourth. And not only that, they are one of 7 teams that actually have a winning road record in October since Mike Tomlin took over in 2007. But one thing I did find that was interesting is that, okay, which month do you think is the Steelers' lowest winning percentage?
September,
yeah.
So you would say September, which is correct, a 53.5. Now, some people might overthink it and would say January.
January, yeah.
And the thing is, with January, the Steelers actually have a 64% winning percentage in January if you're including all games. But if you look at just regular season,
they're phenomenal.
9-1, 90% winning percentage in January since 2007. But here's the other thing that people, they're like, oh, but they lose all these playoff games, blah, blah, blah. Steelers actually have the third best January record in the NFL since 2007. Who do you think of the other 2 teams that would be better in January?
New England,
that's obvious, but they were barely better than the Steelers record-wise when it comes to January since 2007.
I'll take a stab in the dark and say the Green Bay Packers.
You are in the right conference.
I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles.
And neither one of you are in the right division.
San Francisco.
It is San Francisco, believe it or not. San Francisco has a 76% winning percentage in the month of January, in what I looked at as the Mike Tomlin era. And just one thing to throw out there, just to say, the Houston Texans, their winning percentage in the month of October is 44.7. So the Steelers are actually playing in October this Sunday because it is October 1st.
Right.
When is the last time the Steelers played on the date October 1st?
That's a Brian Davis question.
Gosh, I don't know.
It was a division game. It was on the road. And they won 26-9 after leading 19-0 at halftime on a 1 p.m. kickoff in Baltimore against the Ravens in 2017. They played. But under Mike Tomlin, that's one of two that they played on October 1st. The other one wasn't on a Sunday. And it's a game that we have a special nickname for. Because that was in 2015. They played on October 1st in the infamous Scobie debacle where the Steelers lost at home in 2015 in overtime.
Thursday night.
That was a Thursday night game. So although the Steelers are under Mike Tomlin's undefeated on October 1st at 1 p.m., they're 1-1 overall on October 1st, which means absolutely nothing other than being a weird statistic.
There you go.
Love it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's do some final thoughts here. Brian, go ahead.
All right. My final thoughts coming up are simple. The Pittsburgh Steelers were not supposed to win that game in Las Vegas. There have been a lot of people thinking that the Steelers were going to go south. Now, where are the fans? What are the fans thinking of? Are they thinking that this is a trap? Are they thinking, well, the Raiders aren't that good? It does not matter. It does not matter who the Houston Texans are or not. I'm not going to the Dave Schofield nameless gray faces. I'm not going there. All I'm saying is it seems like the Pittsburgh Steelers are that team that continues year after year to struggle in September. September is over. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are 2-1. It's pretty good September for the Pittsburgh Steelers when you think about it. So the last, I don't know how many years, how many times have we seen the Steelers looking in October, trying to get their bearings and get back on track? In 2019, they lost Ben. They went 0-3. Almost made the playoffs. Now, we know about 2020, the COVID year, the 11-0 year, but that was just a very weird time. In 21 and 22, they started off poorly as well. A lot of people were thinking that they were going to be in the running for a quarterback, which actually they did end up with a quarterback, but a lot of people thought they were going to have a top 5 pick, which they continually do not have. All I'm saying about this, sure, the schedule gets tougher. It doesn't matter really who they're playing. It only matters how the Pittsburgh Steelers prepare to play. And it seems like as they go, Mike Tomlin, year after year, gets better as the season ages. So I'm going to say, last year, you start off 2-7. You do very well down the stretch. I'm looking for the Steelers to not have to face that uphill climb in the second half this year. And that will be refreshing, especially to us who cover this team.
Well said. Dave, final thoughts.
The Steelers did not start off very well in week 1 this year. They had the 2 previous years, but they did not. Coach Tomlin constantly talks about even when they win, we've got to get better. We've got to get better. You know what? They got better each week so far. You can't have a step backwards. You've got to continue to get better. And as long as the Steelers get better, going into Houston, this should be a team that as long as they continue that trend, that they should have the opportunity to win this game. So the biggest thing here is continued improvement, exactly like Coach Tomlin preaches. You've just got to actually see it go out and happen on the field. I'm excited to see it. We're back to 1 p.m. when God intended NFL football to be played, although the Steelers, both their wins were in prime time, so I guess I can't complain about that too much. But just looking forward to getting back to it and see if they can go out and improve their run game, continue to improve the run defense, continue to improve their tackling, continue to improve the passing game all around. You just got to get better every week, because that's what other great NFL teams, that's what they're going to do. And if you want to stick with them, you've got to be better every week.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Thank you both for your time. We appreciate it. Make sure you check us out on the post-game show. Again, not as late. That'll be nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, for real. And then we'll be back next week for another Steelers preview, looking ahead to the Baltimore Ravens in week 5. So Dave, why don't you send us out like you always do?
Hey.
All right. We'll see you next time on another Steelers preview.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.